Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reasonably Effective Podcast. I'm 10 Types, as always, joined by Uncommon Fossil.
Glad to be here and talking about some very recent results, which is unusual for our podcast.
Yeah, today we're talking about NAIC, the North American International Championship, which is one of the largest Pokemon TCG tournaments of the year. It just happened. Actually, at the time of recording this, it happened and ended earlier today. So we are very on top of things. So on top of things that when we went to record it, or we're kind of preparing, it wasn't out. So yeah, we have the results here, though. Looking actually at, by the way, if you didn't know, we are on Limitless, but we're not on Limitless Labs or something like that, which actually has faster access to tournament results, which is cool, and actually has it has a lot of stuff. You can see just a bunch of different things, which is cool. You can see pairings, you can see opponent win percentage, or opponent win percentage, or whatever, if you want to see that. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about here, and I think it'll be interesting. Some of it is not as interesting, but it is stuff we need to talk about as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll start off with the uninteresting part, which is how much Dragapult was dominant, right? I think that's the least interesting part, not surprising. Although it is a little surprising to me how big deal Dragapult was. Just day one, if my understanding is, it was like 36% of the decks that players brought to the tournament, so pretty massive there. And then let me hit group variance. Yeah, 36%, which is a lot and massively dominant. And you'd say that's too much. Except then it converted even higher. It was 48% on day two, and so went significantly up. And was like top half of the top eight. Four of the top eight decks were Dragapult. So Dragapult's dominance is the big theme, not shockingly. Although it put a stamp on just how good Dragapult is.
Yeah, and just scrolling through the results, you see half the decks in a lot of these sections, especially near the top, are Dragapult. Dragapult is, and we're gonna kind of talk about some of the different builds and things, because as you mentioned, you group the variants together. If you don't group them together, we see that the top variant is it's just called Dragapult. Some of the descriptions of the decks, as we'll get into, is a little bit weird, but we have straight Dragapult. You have some builds with Dusknoir. So straight Dragapult's 20%. Dragapult Dusknoir is 10%, so still pretty good. And then you have Dragapult Blaziken at 5, and then don't know if there's another build. It might be the Dunsparce. I'm not sure. There's apparently Dragapult Frost.
Yeah, there's Dragapult. The Red Dragapult Dunsparce is 1% of it.
Okay. So, you see a bunch of different builds there, and even within, quote, the same build, you will see differences in the list. We're not going to dive, into every list or anything like that, but Dragapult, I've heard definitely people obviously getting fatigued about the deck because, well, it's been very good for quite a while, and also I will say the second most played deck on either day was, we saw Enzoroik in as high as 8%, rounding up a good chunk there. So that's a long ways away from Dragapult or Ogerpon Meganium or Alakazam. These decks are doing, they are playable, certainly, and they can do some nice stuff. I mean, Dragapult didn't win the event, but, well, it won it in, I think, one of the divisions. It won it in, let me quickly check.
Yeah,
It won it in the juniors division, but did not win it in the masters division. Finished second and third there. But yeah, I mean, the deck is very good. Again, not unbeatable in every situation, but well, there are counters which we'll talk about. They're not these counters that just obliterate the deck or anything like that. The Dragapult is able to adapt. It's able to do some really stuff. Recently, I actually made a video just kind of talking about how a lot of the other decks have flaws in them, and Dragapult doesn't really have as many flaws. It's kind of good at everything, right?
Oh yeah, it's very good. I mean, if its weakness is anything, it doesn't have the big one-shot ability, and it's a stage 2, which makes it a bit fragile, but it really overcomes both those things very well. It's level. Look, we all know it's good. The level of how much it was played surprises me some, and then just how well it did, because there are a lot of people obviously countering Dragapult 2 out there, but it's just by far the best deck. And if you're of the view that Dragapult's too good, it's ruining the game, you're just going to believe it all the more. So after NIC, this just proved it for you, if that's your position.
Yeah, it hasn't really fallen off. I mean, you can look at tournament to tournament or day to day or whatever, and obviously the numbers are changing there some, but it's so clearly the most dominant deck in the game. It's been that way since rotation. Everyone's kind of thought that was going to be the case rotation, but some weird stuff sometimes happens. Weird stuff didn't happen here. I imagine Dragapult will probably be by far the best deck until it rotates. There's some stuff to talk about with Abyssai if it will fall off. I mean, realistically, I don't see that happening. I think some people are saying that'll happen, but I think they're mostly hoping. And we'll see. But Dragapult is, it's very good, even with the counters. I mean, I guess I will mention the deck that did win. Well, no, do you want to talk about the top eight now?
Well, let me just say one more thing on Dragapult. Because I'm also looking at Played Out Limitless tab here, which is the online tournaments, which obviously they're happening on a daily basis. You can people start playing in the new standard format as soon as those cards drop, which is 2 weeks sooner. So it is a source of it's quicker changing data, and it gives a sense of what's happening. It's never fully accurate, certainly of the competitive scene. But Dragapult is the most played on online events at 19%, which is a lot even at that, but well short of what it saw for IRL play here at the tournament. So even though it's dominant online, it's IRL, amongst top players, just jumped up drastically, which, that's a big discrepancy, right? From 19% to 36%, a big gap up there.
Yeah, and we were talking about, and I was going to talk about how there are different builds, and that allows you to, in some ways, express yourself in different ways. So I would legitimately say, like, if you for some reason haven't tried Dragapult because everyone's playing it, and you're just like, okay, I don't want to try it. Well, you should try it because honestly, there's a good chance you'll like it. Maybe that's why people aren't trying it because they're scared they'll like it. But there are a lot of different things you can do in terms of deck building to, do your own thing, even if it is close to what other people are doing or if it's not. But also, and this has to do with why it's more played in these like more competitive events. It's because it's also a deck that has like more, I guess, skill expression. Yes, a newer player can play it and can do well with it and things like that, but if you have a lot of decision making with specifically Dracloak, also I guess with Dragapult EX, those two cards, you're making decisions with what cards you're going to get, what cards you're going to put damage cards on. So there are a lot of decisions there that are, I'd say, interesting as well, and are also something that really, I mean, again, also with like how you're playing, what speed you're playing at in terms of like if you want to play a faster game where you're going more aggressively into Dragapult EX, or a slower game where you're hiding
Yeah.
maybe behind some stall style Pokemon or something like that, like Badoo or something like that. And again, also if you're pushing for like say Dustmore, which can do some really crazy stuff, but is a bit more sketchy there at certain times, you have all these interesting different options, and that's definitely something that um, if you're looking at these like bigger in-person events, that's kind of what people are looking for. Again, it's not like super different from Play Limitless to Limitless Labs or whatever, but it is different as you were saying.
Yeah, and I'm looking so top cut for NAIC was 11 because it's what 8 plus ties is the current format, and there is one, two, three, 6 of the top 11, so over 50% of the top cut was actually Dragapult. So even better than the 4 of the 8 of the top 8. It's yeah, it's just crazy dominant. So, and I'm calling up the deck list now. I do think with what we're using here, the labs dot limitless dot limitlesstcg.com, there is a potential for some errors, I think, within it, but it should be accurate for the most part.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't used this that much. So also, yeah, the deck viewer is kind of different, which is kind of funny. Wait, so are you looking at the
Yeah,
Dragapult list or just the lists in general?
I called up all the Dragapult lists right now
Okay.
in the top cut, just to get a sense. So as I'm looking at these lists, I see 4 hammers in the top Dragapult list, which that doesn't make me happy.
Yeah.
Hammers, look, I'm fine with Dragapults. I'm not a Dragapult hater. Certainly, I don't love it, how good it is, but hammers, I do not like hammers. So when 4 hammers becomes a way to play the game, that's something that definitely makes me unhappy.
Yeah, I definitely think, I kind of agree with you. Dragapult isn't. I mean, it's very good, so that can be a little annoying if you want to play a weaker deck. You
Yeah.
just kind of get rolled over by Dragapult because it's consistent and strong. But Dragapult, it has some interesting decisions. Crushing Hammer is obviously you're not really making the decision. The game is making it for you with randomness. So Crushing Hammer is a card that is, I'd also agree, annoying. Definitely something you've been seeing more in Dragapult lately. It's interesting to see it with Dustor here, fitting lots of different pieces in. Look at the different lists. I'm going to kind of go through. The
Yeah.
things that kind of stand out to me, which specifically, I mean, you see some like different tack cards and things like that. Nothing super crazy here. We see hammers in some of the lists. We see one list running Alex Zam. It's also running Zero Six Machinations. If you know me, I think that card's kind of bad. But well, I know it. I think it's whatever. Not for today's discussion. But we see an Alex Zam line, which is actually really interesting. It gives you some draw, gives you an attacking option. And I guess yeah, the Dragapult deck does end up with massive hands a lot of the time as well. We also see special red card. I suppose that's something to look out for. I think it's so one of in every one of these lists, which kind of makes sense. It is a good card for hand disruption. I don't think they all play stamp. Yeah. So they all play one stamp, one special red card. So it gives that more, I'd say, even hand disruption, slightly more, I guess, consistent or common there. We don't really see much hand disruption outside of that. Well, we see some judge and then the 0-6, but you're mostly looking at those items, which are really nice. Obviously, in terms of supporters you're looking to play, you're looking to, in the early game, draw cards with your supporters, but then in the later game, you're looking for boss, or in the mid game, you're looking at like Crispin. So saving your supporter for just not having to hand us up and saving for other things is nice there. And special red card is a nice addition, especially to Dragapult. It's a deck that's not really affected too much by Dragapult or by a special red card because you have the Dracloaks there. And I will also mention this is this is kind of related to the Crushing Hammer thing, also kind of related to, in some ways, the special red card thing. Special red card, the top new card from the new set, is good for
Yeah.
Dragapult. And in the next set, we have a couple of cards. We have Dark Bell. Dark Bell, I think, is pretty decent and also probably good for Dragapult. And also we have the card, I believe it's called Rust Syndicate Grunt. That's a supporter card, which I guess in some ways I'm looking forward to. It's a discard an energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon supporter, but only if one of your Pokemon was knocked out last turn. So that's a card that I hope it replaces Crushing Hammer in the list. It is more consistent there. It feels more fair. Crushing Hammer, power level wise, I guess is fair, but again isn't fun much at all. It's also good against Dragapult. To be honest, looking at the meta game, let me pull it up again. But we see that you got like Ogerpon decks, Alakazam decks. Honestly, most of these decks, Crushing Hammer isn't super good against. I mean, it's like okay, but for an item that literally does nothing half the time, you want it to do something pretty meaningful the other half the time when it's actually doing something. And against Dragapult, it does some really big stuff. But against other decks here, it can do some stuff, but it's not this crazy card.
Yeah, a couple thoughts I have as I'm going through the hammers, which you were talking about. I think it's really here for the mirror, right? Because Dragapult needs the two energies. It can Crispin, so it can power up one turn, but you don't want to have to burn your supporter on that on Crispin. And if you're relying on, and you're playing probably one Meowth EX, they probably are mostly, if not all, playing the Meowth EX. So you get
Yeah,
your
they're all in
supporter
there.
that one turn. They do. They also probably are playing the Team Rocket's Watchtower to shut that ability off. At least some of them are. I don't know what the percentage
Yeah,
there
I think
is.
like half.
So so you have to be careful about whether whether you can get the Crispin or not. But so hammers are there for the mirror, I would imagine, because Dragapult's a little slower. You're playing one Badoo, you're playing one Monkey Dory for the most part. So that's a good card there. And
Yeah,
then the
most
Zero
are
Six
most are playing two
Machination.
Munkidora, by the way. I just looked.
Were they in the top? Okay.
Some
Um.
are playing two Darkness, some are playing
Uh,
three. Yeah, I think one's
um.
playing three. But yeah, they're mostly running
Okay.
two Darkness, two Munkidori for the most part there.
Yeah, you're right. I missed on that. So, and then the Zero Six Machinations. I think just one of the top cut lists have it. I like it though, in that it's there because Alakazam's a good deck too, right?
Well,
So,
yeah.
right? I mean, it's very effective against that late games because once they can one shot your. I haven't played enough Dragapult to know for certain how that works out, but once the Alakazam sets up that they're one shotting your Dragapult, if you can hit them with Zero Six Machination the following turn, I think that's going to be pretty disruptive to them.
I mean kind of, but also like Dragapult obliterates their bench. Yes, they have Battle Cage, but Dragapult lists are running a bunch of stadiums, so they can probably bump it. And then, I mean, I feel like you should be in a decent spot anyways,
Okay.
and don't need 0-6. And then also, I would say this. I think a judge would be I mean, it's not quite as disruptive, but it's a similar level. And in fact, your opponent actually doesn't get to choose any of the cards in their hand, so there are times when it will be more disruptive there. Against Alexam, though mostly not. Xerxes will
Yeah.
be a little more disruptive. But also, like, what if you don't have your supports you need in your opening hand? Like, there's so, like, in so many other situations, you'd rather have Judge over Xerxes. Yes, ideally, like, in those situations, you'd probably have Lilies over Judge, but you only have so much choice, and a card that just does a lot more. I do think Judge is like a lot better than 06 most of the time, or is better. I think pre-rotation when we had Iono and people were playing 06, I think that was
Yeah.
crazy. I think playing it now, it's somewhat understandable, like to play it in some decks, but also I just don't think you need it here. I mean, you mentioned Team Rocket's Watchtower
Okay.
there as well, so yeah.
Yeah, I can understand not like you don't like Zoroka's
No, it's a
Machinations, so
terrible card.
and it's not a terrible card, and I like it probably
Oh no.
more than I
Well, what's
should.
it good again? Whatever. This isn't the first day.
It's a like it's a legit it's not a it's a fine card for you just have to know what it's for, right? It might get overplayed. I'm not saying that,
I
and you do
say
have
it's.
unfair
I
stand.
say I'll give my take. I think playing 06 Machinations is probably worse than a draw three supporter in my opinion. Like obviously their
Well,
cards are better than draw three supporters, and they're competing with cards that are like good. Judge is like actually not that good, and 06 is competing with a card that's like just fine. But still,
yeah. No, I mean, look, it's more of a control card, and obviously, Dragapult is not a control deck. There's no build I don't think that can be classified as a control build. You could
yeah,
build a you could build a Dracloak control deck, right, where
yeah,
you splash in a Dragapult as attacking option. That you could do because the nice thing with so you have some different engine options, right? The Dracloak can be the engine in of itself, or you can run some other line, which is part of what's nice about Dragapult. The other thing, the card which I liked seeing here is like we see a couple Rose's Encouragement. That's a fun card to me. I think two of the list have it where if your opponent has more prize cards remaining than you attach two basic energies from your discard pile to one of your stage two. I had to look at it because I haven't played it. I don't think since it's been out. So,
yeah. I
but it's
will
the type of
say,
card.
with
Go ahead.
you've been playing some more Build and Battle, right?
That's true.
And it's a key card
Um,
there, theoretically, except you can never play it. So it's actually not very good. But
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, build the battle is fun. That's not today's thing, but they're much less consistent. So the odds of hitting the card and with the right board state is slim there. But for Dragapult, it's a good card. You can power up. Obviously, you have Crispin to do it, but being able to power up from the discard pile is nice as well as an option. So I like having the one copy. Maybe you can get away without it, and since it's only situational when you're behind on prizes, it might make sense not playing it. But I think it's a fun, it's a nice little card to consider. So you have your different engines, and then you have the Blaziken build as well, right? That's kind of has some success and is what one of I think the top cut decks was a Blaziken list.
yeah, just one of those there. Regarding Rose's Encouragement, I personally have a similar opinion to it that then similar thought process to Zero Six Machinations,
Yeah,
where like I feel like almost all the time it's worse than Crispin. I mean, there were times when Rose's Encouragement would be better than Crispin, but also Crispin's going to be a lot better. Like so often, and also in the situations where you don't really have quite what you're looking for, Crispin can kind of help you get there. So I do think Crispin is generally better than Roses. Obviously, if you don't have the NG in your deck, and also Roses gets another NG or gets another NG into play. If you don't have the NGs in
right.
your deck, then um, Crispin like doesn't work. So that is a legitimate issue with the card. But still, I do think running Crispin's generally gonna be better. But yeah, it's definitely a somewhat interesting card. Only really, I think, does it go in another deck other than Dragapult? That not really. I guess Superior if you're playing that. I will also mention regarding the control thing. There are some decks. I mean, there's one here running in the Veltal to Trap. I know with the new set. I've been talking about this probably a little more than I should. The new set, but with Pitch Black, you have the new item Dark Bell, which you can pair with the Veltal, which can do some nasty stuff there. Also like pairing it with hammers and energy disruption, and you're getting into more controlly stuff. So I think legitimately like Dragapult. I mean, you look at like the stadiums as well. Most of those are disruptive stadiums, so you have
Yeah.
like heavy disruption, but do as well. I wouldn't quite go as far as control as you're kind of saying, but it has heavy disruption aspects, and it can put those in very easily. You're also mentioning that, so it's
Yeah.
very versatile in terms of going aggressive or going more passive.
Yeah. One thing the Rose's encouragement does, and the reason why you're going to discount it is because it helps like the worst card in format, in your opinion, and it helps Monkey Dory, right? Because it lets you, it accelerates two energies, so you get your two energies on your Dragapult, and then you can attach from hand to the Monkey Dory, so it lets you power up fully and attach to Monkey Dory, which is a nice thing, right? That's where it's
Yeah.
better than Crispin at the times you can use. So I think one copy is probably not a must include, but I do think it has potential. It has enough value to certainly consider it.
Yeah, yeah, it has some like reason to include it at times there. Overall, I think it's also with the Monkey Dory, it's interesting to see. We are kind of talking about crushing hammers. Also, Lotus Clefairy EX falls in this role as being like a Dragapult counter. Monkey Dory also kind of is a Dragapult counter there. It does other
Yeah.
things, but it definitely can be a Dragapult counter. That also produces some really interesting situations going like back and forth between Monkey Dories and stuff like that. But that is a card that is theoretically really good against Dragapult. Interesting with also I'm looking at the stadiums. I think you got Riskier Ruins. You see like a wide variety of stadiums, which kind of makes sense. We got like Air Zero. I don't think any deck's going crazy with like really caring too much about their stadiums. I have to imagine a lot of them are stadium bumps. Riskier Ruins, Monkey Dory stuff can be good for hitting the 70 HP basics on the bench, but overall, I think Dragapult definitely has different interesting builds to it. If you just don't like it because it's popular, then I mean I kind of get that, right? But it does have
Yeah.
some really cool stuff going on with it if you are looking for that.
Yeah. And then the last thing on it, the top performing Dragapult is a Dusknoir line, which was the way to play it, but now that's the none of the other decks in Top Cut played the Dusknoir, I don't think. So, it is a bit more wide open for how you want to customize it for you, which is a plus.
Yeah. But then looking at the other decks in the top cut here, I'm just going to quickly read them. We have a Lily's Clefairy basic box deck. We have a Slow
Yep.
King deck, which also plays Lily's Clefairy EX. We have a Team Rockets deck, which also plays Lily's Clefairy EX. We have Crustle, and we have Anzoric EX. All these decks, I'd say, Ends probably does it the least so as a counter to Dragapult, I guess. But you look at like these decks, they're just doing things that are really anti-Dragapult, the winning deck being 4 Lotus Clefairy EXs there, really able to, I mean, obviously just hit Dragapult for weakness and really, I guess, tax the resources by knocking him out. I guess and that kind of relates to Rose's encouragement, where you knock him out, you remove their resources like energy, like Pokemon. It legitimately is kind of rough. If you get hit by Lily's Clefairy EX, yes, you technically trade evenly. You do trade positively with Lily's Pearl, which we see in as a 2 of in the winning list here, which can also attack Charm going second. But the deck is able to do or the different cards that you're really looking at in Dragapult counters. You can't just play a deck that's a Dragapult counter, but you kind of can.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking here just in terms of the deck, in terms of the metagame here, looking here at the conversion rate from day one to day two. And I'm just, let's see, I'm going to group the variants together here. So we've got trying to get what has decent play rate. So Crustal actually it was 29%. So that's actually the highest for these other deck types. So very obviously very good results there. Actually, well, Dragapult is at 32%. When I group it together, Crustal's at 29%. We got down to what Enzorok did very well at 24%. Basic box, which could be a variety of things. Slow King, Alakazam to Dunsparce. Those are decks that converted well. They're not all Dragapult counters, though, I will say.
Yeah, I mean they are all capable of dealing with
Yeah,
Dragapult. So some are like
right.
more Dragapult countery than others. I'd say it's got to be something that you're thinking about a lot. Realistically, if you want to play really at all, if you're just like I want to play and I don't want to play against like or I don't want to play like, with a deck that like just lose to Dragapult, that's pretty rough. Just for like any type of play, I suppose if you're playing with your friends, you can just not play Dragapult. But like if you're just playing on like on live or something like that, you're going to see Dragapult, maybe like one out of every five, looking at like the online results that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But um, it's still something to be worried about. And also, I will mention that some of the other decks that are kind of fun, like some like Mega Starmie, Mega Ninja, I would say are both kind of in a similar vein to Dragapult EX as well. They're kind of just worse Dragapult builds or decks in my opinion, because I mean you know the upsides of Dragapult, especially like the Dracloak there, which they just don't have. But they are still doing something similar there. And also, some of the Monkey Dory stuff can feel like Dragapult stuff as well.
Yeah, well, in of the top cut decks, they're essentially all Dragapult counters outside of Dragapult, right? The
Yeah.
the winning deck is for Lilith Clefairy, so Dragapult counter. Then we have Slow King deck with a Lilith Clefairy, so you're setting up again, so you can deal a Dragapult there with different attacking options. Crustal deck, it's countering all EXs, so and because the we'll talk about that a little bit more, I imagine. The Team Rockets Mewtwo deck again has Liz Clefairy. You have a psychic attacker, so there you go. There's the Enzorark deck that came in 10th with Tord. So first, Enzorark got more representation than I thought. Did better than I expected because I kind of forgot about the deck. That one is not a Dragapult counter though, right? That's the
Um,
one deck that doesn't really fall
yeah.
on
Oh
that.
wait, I just realized this deck plays 4 Transformation Tome. That's like cool, I guess. The card is really cool, but the use cases of it are actually not as interesting as you. Well, I don't know. Theoretically, they're really interesting, but in practicality, they're just kind of similar to the Area Zero Underdepths Chimp House stuff, which is still kind of cool. But yeah, I mean the deck I guess isn't a Dragapult counter. It doesn't run the Reshiram either, which can be really nice for like taking big knockouts. Yeah, but it's also not like super vulnerable. But yeah, it's definitely not like it's good against it's like pretty good against Dragapult. But yeah, you're not looking at it like I mean it's not psychic. I think all the other ones were psychic except for Crustal. But Crustal's
Right.
I mean the other decks are Dragapult counters. Crustal is a like I'd say a counter deck like in general.
Yeah. So just to talk briefly here for the Enzork deck, and I honestly had forgotten about N, so I'm glad to see it doing well. Yeah, the transformation tome playing that, so that's pretty fun there with 4 copies. So getting some shenanigans there. Plays a ruffian, which I've not been thinking about that either.
Yeah.
Discard a tool and special energy from your opponent's Pokemon, so it's got controlly aspects to the deck, which is kind of nice there. So. Um, yeah, black belts training to help get the damage up to what you need to be and such. The ends PP up. So, yeah, that's an interesting deck. I'll have to take a look at that more in detail later on because it's a fun little set of stuff.
Yeah, and with Enzorark, there are like some different things you can do with a deck. You're looking at like something like you can buff damage in different ways, like binding emoji and things like that. The deck
Yeah,
plays with a Monkey Dory decently. I mean, you can slot it in. You're not required to put a different type of energy, which is nice.
yeah,
You obviously have a good draw engine. I'd say the deck is, in some ways, I actually say it's the closest deck to Dragapult because you have this like stage 1 draw engine. It is an
yeah.
engine that is tied to your attacker. I mean, so is Dracoloak with Dragapult EX, but it definitely has something similar, but it can cause issues at times as well. And with the discarding, though, I will say that allows you to kind of bin cards that you don't want that are more matchup specific. So it's definitely a fun deck. I'd say you're kind of looking at it comparing it to Dragapult, and you're like, oh, well, the spread, I mean, you got N-Star Manatan, but that's a little clunkier to use, and your active damage is like, I guess it's good, but you're like, your overall damage is not quite as impressive. Your ability to play the game slower doesn't feel quite as good. I guess you have like a Veltol, but like,
Right.
I don't know. It's certainly a decent deck, one that was one of the decks like going in if you're looking at like this deck is like a decent, relatively safe deck. It kind of makes sense there. I'd group other decks in that category in something like Raging Bolt, and I'd also include, I guess I'd include Hydrapple and and then Mega Lucario. Mega Lucario did pretty not good here. I don't think I don't. Let me take a look, I guess. Mega Lucario was, this isn't the right thing. Mega Lucario was played, surely it was
It,
played some. I don't see it immediately, though.
yeah, it was played. Hang on a second. I had it. Oh wait, I'm blanking. It was played a little bit, but not a lot, and it didn't. Oh, sorry. Well, first
Oh, yeah, here,
on
it's
on
like 10th or something.
yeah, and for day one, I think, and I don't think it really did. Did not convert well at all. It's played, but so this is where like the online really skews some because it's played about 5% of the time online, but it just doesn't. It was played well less than that for a major competitive event, and then the conversion rate didn't do well. It probably wasn't played by top players because they just didn't see it as a strong deck. Which I think it's not. It's okay and it can work, but it's not quite at the level of these other decks. I've talked about it in another video. I think it's a good beginning player deck because it just works pretty well. But it unfortunately it does that. It just works pretty well. It doesn't work great. Is
Yeah.
where I think it's at.
Yeah, I recently, as in yesterday, made a video where I kind of talked about Deck's flaws, and I said Mega Lucario is like too fair. Um, it's okay, does a bunch of stuff, does it like all right, but isn't gonna hit you with anything crazy really, I guess outside of some big knockouts, but you can kind of see it coming. It's not like super slow, but it's not it's not like taking control over the game in the way that Dragapult is, or a lot of other decks are trying to do. It's just kind of doing its thing. What it does is fine. Also, it is weak to Psychic, which kind of sucks. Being hit by for weakness by Lotus Clefairy EX and other Psychic Pokemon with Lotus Clefairy EX, or I guess without Lotus Clefairy EX as well. But presumably your opponent would be playing those to counter Dragapult with Lilies there. So um, it's in a bit of an awkward spot. I feel like it's a relatively safe-ish deck. Looking at the other decks there, I guess I'll quickly mention them as well. Um, Specifically looking at like ends, I guess I'll talk about that, and then we can maybe dive into the other ones.
Okay.
But ends is again pretty safe there, but you have more options. You have like some cool stuff you can do, which with Mega Lucario you're not looking at that. I'd say ends is the spiciest of the quote normal decks that aren't Dragapult, sauciest I
Yeah.
guess, and Mega Lucario is the least.
Yeah, and looking like Ends is really the one deck that generally played Transformation Tome, which is certainly a fun card there. And the only deck that was of the top performing ones that didn't play that played the best card in format being Xerosix Machinations. So I know if you were building a deck, Transformation Tone, Xerosix Machinations, we know which way you'd go.
Yeah, yeah.
So look, Transformation Tome is fun, and obviously you have to get the right Pokemon in play to attack with it and such. So it's fun to be able to play a card like that in a deck, Transformation Tome.
Yeah, it is fun. And I'm definitely gonna play it. Some I have not played ends in a while, to be honest. But yeah, then we have. Yeah, I'm actually looking in, and now the tournament is up on at the time of recording. It's on regular Limitless as well, so that's kind of fun. We got the results. I guess it's like the same page because they just kind of send it over. But yeah, so we see that looking at. I guess we'll talk about the winning list now, or the winning
Okay.
deck, and that kind of archetype, which is basic box is what I'll call it here. Most basic box decks are focused around Lotus Clefairy EX, Mayhang Scan EX, and also Teal Pony EX. This one doesn't. This one played some. I haven't really seen it. I haven't played with it much either, I don't think. Builds without lilies, or no, sorry. Builds without Teal Pony EX. Teal Pony EX is a pretty safe, though somewhat mediocre attacker. It gets energy on the board in a decent way, but with the other builds, you're kind of relying on Crispin, relying on weakness more. I suppose that Teal Pony X can hit weakness, but in terms of the like super good or like the relatively good decks that aren't Dragapult, it doesn't really hit those for weakness so much. You look at like Cynthia's, Marnie's, those are fine. I don't think they're played too much, but I didn't look. I mean, they're certainly not quite as popular as some of those other decks we've been talking about. But you have like different attacking options. The win list here, though, it runs for Mega Kangaskhan and for Meowth. I've not been playing that
Yeah.
much Meowth. I've been playing some Mega Kangaskhan. Mega Kangaskhan is a really nice starter. It can be a liability at times, but it's not too bad. And then also you are relying on Latias SCX there as well. And Latias SCX with Telepathic Psych Energy is actually quite nice. We see that in Slowking as well. Slowking is a deck that can do some really nice stuff with that Mega Kangaskhan EX, Latias EX, Telepathic Psych Energy package, which is kind of cool there. I mean, decent stuff. You're just drawing some cards. And we also do see the Chimp out in this list to remove that liability of Mega Kangaskhan EX from your bench using Air Zero Underdepths. And of course, with Air Zero Underdepths, you're going to be swinging for just with Lotus Clefairy EX a decent chunk of damage, having a decent main attacker. The deck is, I'd say, pretty countery. You see like Moltres, Wilson Messenger Pontiacs is kind of a counter card. Certainly not going to work all the time. Like Karada EX and obviously Lotus Clefairy EX there. These are all Pokemon that are, again, more counter focused. You'd see Mechaniscon EX being just a generally pretty good big attacker, and all of them are pretty decent. And you look at the builds with like Ogre or with Teomas Ogre EX in them, and those decks are certainly doing something pretty similar there, using a different form of energy acceleration. I guess you still have Crispin, but you have not Crispin as well, which is nice. And overall, you have just decent, good plays you can make with the deck. I wouldn't say it's super crazy, but it is a relatively cool toolbox style deck.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of things. Playing three Latias EX, which you don't get to see a lot. Obviously, it's an attacking option. Some interesting cards. Playing the one copy of the Moltres that can do, what's it do? It does what, 110 to an EX, I think. Is that the number?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know it one shots the stuff it needs to one shot with a weakness. One shots, yeah, the one shots the Ogre Pond, the Grass Ogre Pond. It also one shots Janicek DX, which is kind of cool, I guess.
So,
Not really, but yeah.
it's interesting to include because that's the only Pokemon that wants fire energy. So you have to put the energy in as well. The deck plays Wondrous, three Wondrous patch. I like that. So they get a way to get this. Well, with the Teal Mask Ogre Pond, the thing I don't like about it what I don't like in general is for a deck like this, then you're relying on energy switch generally
Yeah.
because you're not often attacking with it because unless you're playing Ogre Pond Meganium, then you get the damage from the Ogre Pond. With this, it draws you a card, which is a okay draw. It's not a great draw, but it's getting the energy accelerated, which you got a energy switch. And I don't find that's the most effective thing. I think Wondrous Patch to get the psychic energy on is a better way to do it, assuming you're attacked with a psychic Pokemon most of the time. And then that plays a couple Lily's Pearl. I think that's fun too. Don't not a card I think of a lot, but if you're attacking with Lilies, give up one less prize card. Very very nice there. Pleased for that. Obviously, telepathic psychic energy helps out a deck like this. Playing four Dusk Ball, so it's not as good as playing four Great Ball. One of those cards I
Can
really
can
like to
be
hype.
it can be
It's
better, right? Because
essentially,
if you get unfair stamped or not unfair stamped, if you
yeah,
get special red carded, then you can know what you're hitting, or you can know that you're
that
not
that
hitting anything, or maybe
that's
you
true.
didn't have seven cards in hand.
Well, you don't have Great Ball in format now, correct? That
Yeah,
we lost that.
yeah.
So you don't have a choice. I wonder what he'd do if the choice is out there. But it's obviously a very similar card. So it's interesting that it's in there. Maybe it is there for the red card. I don't know. Four is a lot of copies though of Dusk Ball. I think you would agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of decks I played. I mean, when you're running these big basic decks, one of the issues is we don't have Nest Ball. You're just relying on Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball is just like okay as well. You need to discard cards,
Yeah.
not too bad, but can be bad at times. And then you're looking at just like nothing, I guess. I know you have some supporters, but playing the supporters feels kind of
Right.
bad when you're looking to play these other supporters. And then I'm trying to think like what I do when I'm playing with decks like these, and you have like Bug Catching Set and the grass ones as well, which
Yeah.
can be really nice. Oh, the list I'm looking at, I just realized it just plays one Teal Ogre Pontiacs, which is kind of interesting there. Here, I pulled up Opponent more. This is actually kind of Raging Bolt. It plays a Raging Bolt, but um, you see that with the really high counter cards, like the four Mankangas County X, four Meowth EX, and four Liz Clefairy EX, you have the full fours of your main draw, like quote consistent draw engine,
Yeah.
your Pokemon that is going to allow you to search for anything and get out of essentially any hand, or like get into any position, admittedly at somewhat of a cost, but relatively minimal, especially when it's a similar level of liability to like your main attacker a lot of the time, and then also your main attacker itself as well. And even three caps is a lot. Yes, which you were pointing out was like really high compared to a
Yeah.
lot of decks. You might see two from time to time, but that card's really important. If you can get it off of the Dust Ball, that's really nice. And you're looking to get like one of these in play. At some point, you just need any Pokemon as well for EX to do more damage, but
Yeah.
it feels like it fills its role in a pretty decent way here. I never really like cards like this because they're kind of inconsistent. I
Yeah.
generally say this, I like my items to be search cards and I like my supporters to be like draw/dig cards. And Ultra Ball, or I mean not Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball is in that vein, but Dust Ball is not. It's switching things up. And safely with Cyrano and Safe Maniacs Code Breaking and Crispin, those actually aren't in that vein either. They're all search supporters, so it's interesting to see that combo. I guess you could Cypher Maniacs. Oh, no, I was gonna say you could Cypher Maniacs in Dust Ball. No, you can't. You could Cypher Maniacs to thin for Dust Ball, though. Dust Ball,
Right.
that's a play.
Right, you can cipher make code breaking to get Dusk Ball, and then you hope you hit what you want off the Dusk Ball. But yeah, I mean, and obviously the three Latias EX is a high, but then four Meowth EX is even crazier, right? Because so it's really interesting that the way the deck runs, and then I guess the Chen Pao it's really there to bump your own stadium, right? So that you can get some of these Pokemon out of play at the appropriate time.
Yeah, no, now that
I'm
I think about it,
guessing.
actually, also Team Rocket's Watchtower, that's going to be pretty nice there. I mean, well, Team Rocket's Watchtower is not nice. That's actually quite bad. So, yeah, having Chien-Pao to bump that is nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of awkward because then you're using your search presumably on that because you're only running one copy, or it just like happens to be in your hand or whatever. And then in that
Right.
situation, you're not able to get one of those colors Pokemon you want to use their abilities. So it is useful there. I mean, you have the 4 stadium bumps as well, but yeah, it's definitely it has some different use cases. I think a big thing is bump your own stadium. At that point, you need to kind of manage things well though, and not like lose too many Pokemon. Also, I will say the deck doesn't run any recovery. Well, okay, it runs Wondrous Patch, but it doesn't run any Pokemon recovery. Also, it does run Prime Catcher.
Right.
Good card, interesting to see that one here as well. Obviously, it does something very similar to Boss, allowing you to essentially Crispin and Boss in the same turn. This is what we see from Ace Max. They're allowing you to play essentially 2 supporters in the same turn, something very similar to that. But with I've lost my train of thought now. We don't see any Pokemon recovery, so you have to be a little careful. You can't like
No.
get rid of a Pokemon that's super important, and just something to keep an eye out for.
Well, I assume also if you shrink your bench, you also have the Latias EX, which you can attack with, right? You also, I was going to say to make a
Yes.
Kangaskhan, but that one's tougher to power up. But the Latias, you can, with a Wondrous Patch and a Crispin, get him powered up. And as long as you have a Lewis Clefairy in the bench, which you would have kept in play after you bumped your stadium, you can still swing away. So if you shrink the bench, you still can one-shot the Dragapults, which is, kind of what you're focusing on doing a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's actually quite nice, and they actually don't one-shot the Latias in the active as well. They probably have the extra 10 from somewhere, but maybe they don't, and so it is nice.
Yeah, or they have to do a little more work, which means they might not be able to get the not get the knockout the next turn. So, it's got some pluses. So anyway, that the winning deck, and certainly congrats to All Out Blitzel. Nice job, and in a deck with really thick lines, but it makes sense. Big benches and no Pokemon recovery, so you need extra copies because you're gonna, it's the only way you can play them.
Yeah. Now I guess we'll move to Slowking. This is the next deck that we see here, performing well. It came fourth and performed decently well.
Yeah,
Slowking is definitely, I don't know, inconsistent is how I describe it, but it can do some crazy stuff, especially with Kieran,
yeah.
but even with like Metagross and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good number of people playing it, which I more people played it than I would have thought, perhaps. But I've, it was what I guess 4%, 4.4% of the day one meta converted 5.2 to day two, and made one in the top cut. So it did well. All in all, it's a deck that when I've played it, I just find it I struggle and I just miss. Too often for me to want to play the deck, but it's certainly a very fun deck. And with the Academy at Night, which I haven't really played it, I've only played it maybe once or twice since that card's out. So that certainly helps the deck a lot better, makes it more viable. So, but a very fun deck, a single prize attacking deck, which gives you some advantages as well there. And Lucky Helmet, Brave Bangle in the deck as I'm looking at it. So some fun cards like that too.
Yeah, the Lucky Helmet. I was playing Slowking the other day, and I was like, I forgot about Lucky Helmet at one point, and I like attached my other tool, and it was kind of bad. It wasn't super terrible, but it was a little sketchy there. I'd say that's a lot of things with the deck. It can be a little sketchy at different times there. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean the deck can do some really good stuff. I talked about some with like the telepathic psych energy, a lot of SCX stuff, which is interesting. It's really weird having this like single prize deck with this 3 prize engine, or 2 prize and 3 prize engine. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
There's a kind of weird dynamic there, where you get like lots of weird stuff. Potentially you can make really big comebacks. You can give up lots of prizes. You can kind of just have things fall apart as well. But it is a cool deck.
Yeah, obviously you need. It's got a couple night stretches because you got to get those Pokemon back that if they knock out what you need, and you're also you have Lewis Clefairy, so it's up again. Because I was thinking about the Dragapult matchup, so you're hitting that for weakness there. And what's I think it's important there that the Slowpoke, the basic is 80 HP, so you're safe from getting knocked out. You're if you only have one Slowpoke on the bench, it's not getting knocked out by Dragapult 60 a damage count, 6 damage counters. So that's going to be very important. That's important for them. If it didn't have that, the deck would be in a much worse situation.
Yeah, we are seeing like a 70 HP Slowpoke that's psychic in the next set, which allows you to get off of telepathic psychic
Okay.
energy and Bye Bye Poffin. I don't know. I mean, I've heard some people saying that it's like good. I mean, it seems okay. Obviously, being able to Bye Bye Poffin is nice. I don't think it's. Some people are saying it's like an S tier card, which it's like
Mm.
definitely not. I mean, Slowking is not an S tier card, and the Slowpoke's definitely not better than the Slowking. But that is interesting. But even you have less HP, you're still out of obviously that 60 HP range.
Right.
Losing 10 HP can be bad, and Buddy Boy Poffin isn't amazing in the deck because you're looking at this engine being this big multi-prize engine. So Buddy Boy Poffin would just get two
Right.
Slowpokes there, and that's it.
Right, because like this list doesn't play Buddy Buddy Poffin because there's nothing that you get in play that would want that. So even if the 70 HP, I guess you probably would have a split line, maybe a 2-2 of the basics, and then you probably one Buddy Buddy Poffin if you go that route. I would think you'd want the 80 as well because you're gonna be using the Ultra Ball and you got your Poke Pads. So I would think I don't think you're all in on the 70 HP. Slowpoke, maybe I'm wrong, but assuming it's a split, then it's not it's not the greatest card in format.
Yeah. There also is the Spoochum, which isn't in this list, but yeah, we
Okay.
see Slowking doing Slowking things, which is really crazy stuff, or a whole lot of nothing. And then we
Yeah.
got, let's see, the next deck. Looking at the top cut here, we see Crustle, with I will mention 0-6 with a deck like this. It allows you to end games faster, which within a time tournament setting is important at times. So
Yeah.
I will mention that. I don't think that applies to most games most people play, but it is worth mentioning here. And even it is just like a one-off. But Lucy Crustle with Mechanics County X as well to be like that draw engine, kind of buy you some time there. Presumably not going to be attacked. Also, we do see Hand Trimmer as well. Hand Trimmer also does a very similar
Yep.
thing, and is an item, not a supporter. So honestly, it doesn't matter too much which one you play. I don't think, because in this deck you'll have games with you'll have just a lot of turns there. So then playing a
Right.
supporter isn't too bad, and then Hand Trimmer obviously will be. I mean, Hand Trimmer is just not as good as Zero Six Machinations if they were both like items or both supporters, but that's interesting to see there. At the Jumbo Ice Cream, we got like Pokemon Center Lady, you got healing stuff. We got Bianca's Devotion. That's kind of fun there. Community Center as well. If only
Yeah.
there was Caretaker. No, but yeah, you got the stuff you're doing. You got missed energies for Alakazam and stuff like that. Missed energies for Dragon Ball as well potentially. So yeah, the deck does nothing, but no, it does it does some stuff. It doesn't do a whole lot. It is a very countery deck. Not in the same sense of Basic Box. It's very different than Basic Box, but it is trying to counter these multi-price decks, which are a lot of them. I mean, Slowking is not. I don't actually know how that matchup goes. It's got to be a really weird matchup. I gotta assume. Maybe you're saving your Aries or something like that, but you can definitely do some interesting things. We see Festal Grounds as well, actually being kind of important for Monkey Dory there. Well, actually, is it important? It's kind of important. You do have Mist Energy though as well, so but your opponent could like hammer it off. There's some interesting back and forth. The deck actually has more to do than you'd think, which
Yeah.
is some to do. It's not that much to do, but yeah, it does stuff sometimes.
Yeah. I guess this format's kind of block Snorlax. Although
Yeah.
this is a more active deck because you can attack with it decently. You're attacking against single prize decks, and because you're 150 HP, you have the potential to beat up, to take out like in Dragapult. They're doing what 70 to you, right? With the stage one, or is it
Yeah.
50?
No, yeah, they're doing
70.
70. You do one shot them, but yeah, they can be doing 70. They will three shot you without cape or
Right.
healing, so you still should be fine, but they can start mixing it up with like Monkey Dory, and obviously
Yeah.
Dragapult EX as well, and they could attack with Dunstar, they could use Dunstar's ability, they could attack with the Dunsparce. There's a lot of different things that could happen.
Right. No, it becomes an interesting game with when you're up against a single prize deck. I don't know, probably can't be very happy with the Alakazam matchup. I would think.
Well, no,
Maybe
you
just
do
start.
just, well, you missed energy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
assuming they don't play four enhanced hammers, which presumably they're not. As far as I'm aware, they don't. I think they're in one, two. I don't remember off the top of my head. I guess I can look.
Okay. And it plays what the least the Liesels or whatever.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not sure the
Alicia. Yeah.
pronunciation. So which I haven't actually played. I haven't seen it played yet. I don't know if you have. So that's kind of fun seeing that. Control things, airy, like you said, zero 06, hand trimmer, spike energy, things which fit into a deck like this, handheld fans. So a bunch of disruption to really mess things up. And of course, 4 Mega Kangaskhan EXs. So you're going to swing with Mega Kangaskhan at times as well, right? It's not 4 copies isn't just an engine, right? You're going to take the
Um,
300 HP and attack in some situations.
maybe I'm trying to think. Like I played Crystal some, and with like a similar build to this. Also regarding the enhanced hammer thing, so they're like normally running like 1 or 2. Theoretically, if they're running 4, you could also run Corsomus Ogre Pontiacs and also Rocky Fighting Energy to have essentially as much as 8 mist energies, which is kind of funny, kind of silly there. But anyway, so you have like I guess you can. I don't know. I feel like you start attaching to Mayhang's Con EX. It can be a threat. It is something they kind of need to go after. It also kind of gets stuck. Like when, well, I don't know if it gets stuck because again you can attack with it, but you can't really
Yeah.
get it out of there. It runs one switch, so it's it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, a deck like this, you wish that Professor Turris scenario was in format, something like
Yeah,
that, to
or
get him
Penny
out of
even
play.
better.
Or yeah, Penny's even better, yes. To get him out of play, you have one switch, which so obviously you're not playing Lattice EX because it doesn't help with your Crustal, and you don't want, you just don't. So obviously, yeah, getting Mega Kangaskhan stuck is rough if they could, because once they take that out, that's 3 prizes. But I guess if you're attacking, you have Heroes Capes now, you're 400 HP, so there's situations probably I would think against single prize decks that things that are you're not going to get one shot with Hero's Cape on your Mega Kangaskhan. So it has its situations at the time, but you're leaning on Crustal, hiding behind that and kind of picking the disruption that's best for the situation.
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing against Festal Lead? What, play down your own Festal grounds? Like, yeah, that's gotta be pretty rough there. But yeah, one funny thing as well that I was thinking, I was like, wow, Mayhang's kind of would have been so good with Penny. Like, why didn't people play that? But people did when there was like control, and then there was also Mega Absol Box. Then I was like, oh wait, that deck's not good. So,
Yeah,
more Zoro's like some Machination slander.
yeah, I know you're a hater, so that's what you do there, and yeah. But look, you got to admit Zoro's Magnation is fine in this deck, right? You're okay with it in this list.
Yeah, it's necessary, mostly due to like the tournament timing stuff. If I was playing this online and I didn't care about the game like taking super long, which admittedly some people just like can stick it out and then like conserve all their resources, which is like fair. The game gets really long. Xerxes does speed
Yeah.
it up. It doesn't actually speed it up. Actually, no. I guess if they were trying to use as much time as possible, then it would speed up a lot. But Zero Six is like fine. Yeah, and it's probably better than Hand Tremor there. So yeah, it's like it's fine in the deck.
Yeah, a deck like this, and it's got a lot of supporters, so I think you got to like this. There's a lot of different supporters, but also a lot of four ofs too. So a ton of supporters, and it's a Pokegear engine, which I know you don't agree is an engine, but I think play a bunch of Pokegear and a bunch of supporters. I can go with that. I would have tried to cut something, probably put a fourth Pokegear, and that's just would make me happier. But I'm fine with this type of deck because this is the deck. Most of the decks have an engine. Well, this has the Mega Kangaskhan, obviously, so I take that. But it's once you get the Crustal going, you've lost your engine. If you're not getting knocked out, so you're just sitting in the active. So having the Pokegear and the supporters, keeps things going for you.
Yeah, it definitely is the deck here. So no, it can actually do some interesting things if you tried it or not. It's not always that interesting, but it can be interesting. Then we got, let's see, we got Team Rockets here as well. I don't have too much to say on this deck. I'll quickly go over it. Too Lucky Helmet, I actually haven't really played the deck too much, to be honest. I'm not super familiar with that in the deck, but you've got the Team Rocket supporter package, which is pretty good. Funnily enough,
Yeah.
like the Team Rocket supporters are so good, but Lily's is still like better than them probably, which is like Lily's is kind of broken. It's a card that like when we all saw, we were like, wow, this card is like super broken, and it's pretty crazy. Not like ban worthy. I wouldn't say it's problematic. I would say it's changed the game in a weird way. And I've said this before. I think it's like definitely the best card in the game. It's like a 4 of an essentially every deck we're looking at. Um, And yeah, I guess I'll say good against Alexam. You get the Articuno there. I don't think there's too much your opponent can do about that. You got the Team Rocket's Mimikyu. We see two copies here. It is a pivot. It is a Pokemon as well. That is Team Rocket, so you can use it for the Spite Ops there. Spite Ops also hits some weakness, but not really. The Mewtwo can do big stuff, but the Mimikyu hits weakness on Dragapult EX is quite nice there with the Liz Clefairy EX, so that's kind of fun to pull off. It's not it's not broken. I mean, it's very good. Your opponent can then theoretically just like boss knock out Lilies and then also snipe the Mimikyu. Wait, no, sorry, they can't do that because of Articuno. But it's still, I suppose they could double Monkey Dory. I guess that's probably not happening from them, but it is possible there. So you're not like this deck that's just obliterating Dragapult left and right, but you can and do have the technology to beat Dragapult there. Oh, we do see Prism Tower as well, which is kind of interesting. I was wondering if we'd see that. I don't think it's super good in the deck, but again, I haven't really played it, so maybe it is really good.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Well, the Prism Tower surprised me. Particularly, what really surprised me is then they only play one Team Rocket's factory,
Yeah.
and just getting a couple bonus cards every turn to me is like really nice. So I'm surprised that they aren't go leaning in that more. They're playing in a deck that's not a grass deck, a couple bug catching set. That's interesting. You do have, 8 grass Pokemon and 6 grass energy. So it makes some sense, but, hadn't really, you really think about that. To me, in grass decks, this is not a grass deck. So that's interesting there. And yeah, the Team Rocket supporter package, really good. As you were saying about Lewis Clefairy, is so good that they still play 4 copies. In
Determination.
one sense, what's Lewis Determination? Sorry, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's right next to the ones Lewis
Yeah.
Clefairy as I'm looking at it. That's which
Yeah.
is why I made the slip up there.
Yeah. The
But Lewis
Lilies cards are
Determination,
so good. Lilies Determination is not part of the Lilies cards, which is really funny.
okay, it's not a trainer, which is even though it's the best of the Lewis cards, I
Yeah.
guess, but because it's the best card for it, I think it's the game would be better in some sense without it, just because it's such a good card. You just slap 4 copies in. It does help with consistency, which is good for the game. But I think it would probably, if with not having it, would make things a little more decision making, might make things a little more interesting deck building wise myself. So I probably would prefer not to see it in format, but certainly because of what it does, it just helps you get going. You're not disrupting your opponent. It's no one minds it, but I don't know that's really good for the game.
Yeah. I think it's like clearly above the power level of the other supporters outside of, I guess, Boss, but Boss is different.
Yeah.
Pre-rotation we had Research, Iono, and Lilies. I think those all were kind of on a similar-ish level. Liz was like, over Research there pretty consistently, but I think if we didn't have, or if we had Research now, people would be playing it a bunch. I don't know exactly how much, but it would be very good. And same thing with Iono. Obviously, Iono was very good. Arguably the best, honestly, arguably the best card in format its entire time in Standard. I think there's a case we made for that, but yeah, I mean, just looking at Lily's here, and it's very good. In the deck, play some
Yeah.
cool stuff. It's fun. I'd say it's not the craziest deck, but it's interesting, and you have like the item slash supporter package as well, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, and Team Rocket's energy, the double energy is nice to have as an option too in a list.
Yeah, and very good with the Mimikyu, or sorry, not the I mean it is good with the Mimikyu, but also with the Mewtwo there. It's actually I know I see there's only one energy switch, so it seems a little awkward to power up the Mewtwo at times as well. I mean I play the
Yeah.
deck some, and I know it is kind of hard to attack with the Mewtwo, but yeah, a fun deck there. Then I guess looking at the other decks that we see people playing, we see Hydrapple, or well Ogerpon Meganium. I assume this is like all Hydrapple. I think this deck is okay. I don't know. Have you played with Hydrapple much?
No, I haven't really played with it, so no.
Have you played against it much either? It's like definitely one of those like it's quite new in terms of people playing it. The deck itself isn't actually that new.
No, I haven't I no, I haven't really run into the deck either, so I'm having to take a look at the list here.
Yeah,
So
it's
have you
yeah. I
played
played
it
it.
with it?
It's like Ogerpon Meganium's house classifies, so it's I guess kind of like so. If, I believe our Believe is also classified the same way. It has been when people are playing that. I think Arboliva is not a good card, Arboliva EX, but everyone's like, yeah, spread damage, whatever. But like it doesn't actually do spread damage that well. It does it like okay, but it's also a stage 2. So, anyways, it is stage 2. You have Force of Vitality. Well, so is Hydrapple here. Hydrapple can do some really big damage with Meganium and Teal'c Ogre Pontiacs. A lot of the times
Yeah.
you're not attack with Hydrapple because you need the Ogre Pons, a bunch of grass energies, and the Meganium and the Stadium in play before you use the Hydrapple. but it is still really powerful. It can take one shots with 5 energy on your board, 5 energy cards on your board. You can take a one shot on like a Dragapult. It is nice. You can also heal. I played the deck some. I also like you haven't really seen it too much, but it is able like theoretically the healing could be good. I guess I don't know, but it seems interesting against Dragapult. I've wanted to try it, but I actually haven't had that happen. The deck is good. I guess it makes good use of bug catching set. It's a pretty safe deck, is kind of how I'd say. It can be really explosive. Most of the time, it's not going to be explosive. Most of the time, it's going to be kind of fine and do some decent stuff. Also, Briar, that's a card. I guess that makes sense. Briar's always a card I forget about. I'm not going to lie. And then my opponent plays, and I'm like, wait, what? That's not good for me. But Briar is interesting. You have like some
Yeah.
interesting-ish options, but the deck's also relatively straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, one thing's interesting that this list here plays a 1/1 Noctowl line. I don't know if that's the same list you're looking
Yeah.
at. And I think in some sense, Noctowl's the best engine in the game. It's obviously situational, but searching for anyone's supporter or a trainer,
Two.
tremendous. Or any two. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. So just playing to me, if I'm playing it, I would want to play more than just a 1/1 line. I'd probably want a 2/2 just for versatility. But obviously, you got a lot of Pokemon in this list, so I guess maybe you can't get away with it. And you don't play the stadium to expand the bench,
Yeah.
right? Because you're playing Force of Vitality, so therefore bench space. I guess you just can't afford probably ever to get more than one Noctowl going in a game.
Yeah, I've definitely had some bench space issues with the deck. I'm surprised we haven't seen Knockdown much in these other decks, but um, it is interesting to see a 1/1 there. I will say I've like seen the deck some. There's Celebi in like all the decks. Celebi seems not very good to me. I mean, I guess you do. I was saying you do need a lot of pieces that are kind of hard to find,
Yeah.
but I'd rather like Badu or something than Celebi. I don't know. I mean, I see a lot in less. I suppose it does exactly what it says it does, but it is still kind of interesting there. I don't have too much more to add to that deck. I don't know if you do.
No, no, I don't. I mean, any deck that plays 4 bug catching set though is I'm all right with that.
Yeah. Then we got Alakazam up next with some more control elements. Also, Nighttime Mine. Let's go. I mean, Nighttime Mine's not super fun, but it's pretty decent. And I think, oh yeah, people are playing that instead of Battle Cage, which I think it's good. I think the card is like decent on a similar caliber to Battle Cage and just general disruptive stadiums there. But you got Dunsparce obviously. Stadiums can be scary for that one as well. And then we also do see some more of the like kind of controlly stuff, the DNA, the LGM. You have the Genestics as well there. That's really nice. Very important against Unfair Stamp.
Yeah.
You see Lucky, or I mean, you have Lucky Helmet. We have Handheld Fan. I'm surprised to see so much Lucky Helmet. I guess it's a decent card. It's not a card I've played with too much, but kind of fun there. And we got a couple of enhanced hammers here, and I don't know. It's doing Alexander. You're drawing lots of cards, hopefully doing lots of damage, and hopefully not getting your board wiped out by your opponent's Dragapult, which might happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little scary with it, right? And this deck gets I see it has the one I'm looking at plays a Sacred Ash, which
Yeah.
is nice recovery, and I don't know if we've seen that in a deck list before, so glad to see
Yeah.
somebody rocking the Sacred Ash.
Yeah, I've like seen it in Alexam some. Apparently, it's been played in some other decks as well. Someone played Ethans, someone Slowking Rockets. Okay, this kind of interesting there. This card, I mean, I was a big fan of Miriam, which is like Sacred Ash plus a draw 3 on a supporter. Underrated card, I
Hmm.
guess. Cool card.
Yeah.
Kind of weird card, but yeah. So and Enriching Energy, of course, as well with the Dunsparce, which is fun, except that like I feel like it's actually not good. I mean, it's cool, but it's awkward to use because um like you don't you need to power up a new attacker every turn, presumably. And
Right.
I guess if
Yeah.
you don't, then like it doesn't really matter. You should be winning anyways. But then you also like you need to obviously attach it. You need to use your attachment for the turn every time you use it. There's no energy acceleration in this list. Sometimes you see Wonders patch, but it's kind of clunky. I know it's like played in all the lists, but it can be kind of awkward at times. But yeah, moving on to the next deck, I think we got Raging Bolt. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly because we're kind of running out of time here. I don't have
Yeah.
anything to say about Raging Bolt unless you do. Obviously able to do big damage there. It's very similar to the big basic box decks we've seen. There's honestly just so much overlap.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything to add to it. It's yeah, a good big basic deck, so that's a reasonable option.
Yeah. Then we got next up. We do have Mega Ninja. This one we actually mentioned earlier. Online, it's played a lot. It's a new deck, so it's really fun, but it's not super good. I actually don't know what these different builds are really looking like. here, to be honest. I was gonna say pull it up. I don't actually know if that'll work. If I can see what Mega Greninja is looking like when people are playing it. Where is it? Here. There we go. I found it. So I guess the main build is the Dragapult build. Actually, no, it's an average build, so it's half Dragapult, half to Dunsparce. Well, that's something. I do think the Dragapult build is a little bit better there with New Upper Energy because, well, it's Dragapult, right? But yeah, the deck is kind of cool. Actually, the deck's really good. You've been playing this deck some, right?
Which deck? Sorry, I was looking for
Mega
something.
Greninja, yeah.
Yeah, no, I like it. To the Greninja package because you have the option of different Greninjas, right? So it's fun. I think online it's gotten a decent amount of plays. Yes, it's the second most played deck online, so at 6%. But obviously, it's a type of deck that shows up a lot more online than IRL. It wasn't played a ton, and I don't think it didn't do well, right?
Nah, not particularly well. Again, it's fun, it's new, and you think it's fun and you like it, right?
Oh yeah, I like it. Yeah, I think it's a fun little option because you have the water, you have the fighting, so you know, it gives you some options. So it's a reasonable deck, is what I'd say. It's not a great deck, but it's a solid choice, which means you're not gonna do great at a tournament with just a solid deck.
Yeah, probably not top 10 here, but it's kind of fun. Top 10 in terms of plays, it's okay. Then we got
Yeah.
Basic Basket, Mega Lucario, which I mentioned. We talked about some earlier. We got Beedrill, the other new deck. This deck's probably a bit better, but also not super good. It's kind of fun. You've also played Beedrill. Would you kind of agree with all I said there?
Yeah, it doesn't quite do it. It's not enough, which is not a shock with only with only the new B drill, not a single prize B drill. It's just not going to be good enough unless they give us a single prize B drill down the road.
Yeah, yeah. That'll definitely help it some. Then I guess the last deck I'll talk about is Team Rockets. I believe Team Rockets won. Did it win seniors? Yeah, it won seniors, so it's kind of fun to see there. Um, Team Rockets Honchkrow. Team Rockets Honchkrow allows you to
Okay.
do damage based on supporters, not regular Team Rockets. I realized that I was not clear in what I was saying, but yeah, you do uh you do the hand side or like the get lots of spores in your hand, discard them stuff. It's like Malamar, but it's I was gonna say but it's bad, but um
Oh, man, you're rough. You're got your hater head on today. So that's the old Rapid Strike Malamar. So if you're not haven't been listening to the channel for a long time, one of the decks I like that you like ripping on, but
I mean it just
um
never worked when I played it. It was so bad. It
okay.
like always came up short. Team Rockets Honchkrow also can come up short a lot. Well, it can come up short. You can also just miss energies. I feel like that happens a lot with the deck. It's kind of hit or miss with a lot of misses there.
Okay. I just want to give a shout out here for the deck that came in 67th and 71st. Not
Wow.
bad.
Okay.
In that,
Okay.
well, no, it's not bad. It's a 40% win rate, but some people made it work, and that's Ethan's Typhlosion. So,
Oh, in Masters, yes.
um, oh, was that in Masters?
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
yeah, in
yeah, I would.
Masters.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was looking at not Masters. So
Okay. So but then a lot of people just went like 1-2 drop too.
okay,
So
well, it's
there
really
were
Driflow. This is just Dragapult in disguise. Like you know.
well, except without the Dragapult because
Yeah,
just with
it's in
the base
disguise.
with the because everybody knows it's the Dracloak and the Dreepy that carry the engine. Dragapult's just there for show,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
So let's get rid of
Drifloak's very
that.
good. It's good. I'll admit
It,
it's
it,
good. It's good.
well, the fact that you can use it as an engine like that for a different deck without playing the stage two, it's part of obviously it's a big part of why Dragapult's just so good is the Dracloak. Honestly, if Dragapult's too probably honestly I'd probably said this before, not in a while though. I think if anything, Dracloak's the problem, right?
Yeah,
To me, that's what makes Dragapult so good.
yeah. But maybe we should do the reverse of this, and we should play Dragapult EX, and then we should tech in Ethan's Kulava, Ethan's Adventure Line. Then you can search out those fire energies and get yourself set up or something like that. Um, yeah, no, I think we're going on. We're getting to that part where we're saying
Yeah,
silly stuff.
we're good.
Um,
Yeah, so getting yeah, we're at the end clearly.
but I think that the results are in some ways kind of exactly what we were expecting. Nothing crazy, but some fun decks that I want to try out. I haven't been playing it too much, like too many strong decks. I've been playing like some different things and just doing some different things. I've been a bit busy. But I'm excited to play maybe some Zorak with Transformation Tome or what's it? Book of Transformation. What's it? Transformation Tome, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Transformation Tome. Yeah, because right now, since Lily's won the tournament, you watch out for that. But I think so. You need to play something that's at least neutral to that. So the ends, I think, is a way to go because the other ones right now is going to be playing even more so Dragapult or Dragapult counters. So to find those other options is the thing to do.
Yeah, but tell us down below in the comment section on our YouTube channels, Uncommon Fossil or 10 Types, what your thoughts are on, I guess, the podcast, but also obviously on this tournament. If there's anything that you learned from it, if there's anything that you didn't learn, like yeah, obviously Dragapult's still good, but yeah, tell us what you're excited for in the future as well. We have a little while till the next set, so if you're hoping for some big changes, um, well, you gotta wait a bit
No.
longer, maybe a lot longer. We'll see, but the next set, by the way, the next set is Pitch Black. Pitch Black is a pretty good set. The set after that is 30 Celebrations, which is not so good. I don't think it's quite bad. But yeah, Pitch Black actually has some like interesting stuff like Dragapult, things like
Yep.
that. But overall, we hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure to again go to our YouTube channels, comment there if you have any comments, but also subscribe and like our videos. But we hope you all enjoyed, and as always, we're excited to see you in the next episode.
Take care.